Hi guys, welcome to another YouTube video. Today we're going to be discussing the kinds of yarn I use in my plushies and which ones I use for which size plushies. Now before we really get into it, make sure to like and subscribe for more crocheting content and videos. So the first kind of yarn we have is Bernat baby blanket yarn. This is my most frequently used yarn, one of my favorites. I'll show it to you guys up close. That's what it looks like. It holds together super well. It forms super nice when you're crocheting it. The only downside I would say to this yarn is that it tends to get pretty expensive depending on where you buy it. Yes, craft stores are going to have every color you can imagine, but you're talking like $17 a roll. And I believe like the jumbo rolls are like $37. So that can get pretty expensive. I will say that Walmart does have the same brand. They also have their like own brand of the same kind of yarn. Cheaper, it's anywhere between I would say like $8 and $11. The only downside to that is they don't have as many color options. So sometimes you just gotta suck it up and pay the extra money. But definitely look for sales and see if you can get it anywhere cheaper. Amazon you can buy in bulk, and overall it will be cheaper. So the next kind of yarn that I use is velvet yarn, and you guys can see how thick this is. It's pretty thick, very soft. I use that for any like plushies that don't have a very definite shape. So if I'm making, for example, like a turtle, I'm going to use the baby blanket yarn. If I'm making something that, let's say I was making a crocheted like water bottle, like the shape of a water bottle, I'm going to use the velvet yarn. So I guess it depends. I don't typically use thick velvet yarn. If I'm making plushies that have, intricate patterns or have lots of pieces to attach, I don't typically use the velvet yarn. The velvet yarn, you can see how big the roll is about the same price. It's pretty expensive. Walmart, like I said, does have all your basic colors of velvet yarn. Actually, they have black and white and neutral, so that is pretty nice. But any of your other colors you're gonna have to get at a craft store, and these ones I believe are $18 a roll. So third type of yarn, thick chunky blanket yarn. And this is the kind of yarn that you would be using if you were hand crocheting a blanket, like a thick chunky blanket, or if you were crocheting a basket. That is this yarn. I'll show it to you guys up close. Super, super thick, and you're definitely going to want to use a pretty decent sized hook with this yarn. And pretty similar to the velvet yarn. I'm only going to use this yarn for things that aren't super intricate and don't have definite shapes. So just very dependent on what I'm making. This yarn is a little bit cheaper. I believe it's like $15 a roll. You can get it cheap at Walmart. But again, the color options, that's the only issue you run into with buying it at other places other than like Amazon or a craft store. And then lastly, we have baby velvet yarn. So you can see this stuff is super thin. And the rolls are pretty tiny, but I bulk order this really cheap, like super cheap. Now the bright side to this yarn is you can literally get it in any color you want. I actually can pick it up at the dollar store sometimes, well, Dollar Tree. But I order it on Amazon, and it's a lot cheaper. Like I could get four or five rolls of that for $17 versus one roll. But I am only using it to make small keychain plushies. So there you guys have it. That is all the different kinds of yarn I use. So it's 3 different kinds of yarn. I'm not really counting like the little velvet yarn because it's the same texture as the big velvet yarn. But I use 3 different kinds. That is what I stick to. I do not use non-plushy yarn. I do not use non-fuzzy yarn. I stick to the fuzzy yarn just because I think it makes the plushie cuter. It feels better, and that's what I like to use. But yeah, definitely as an overall message, I would say look for sales where you can find yarn cheaper. Garage sales, a lot of times people will sell rolls of that stuff for like $5, and you cannot pass that up. But yeah, I hope this has been super helpful. If you guys have any questions or anything to ask me, feel free to message me. And that is all I have. Bye!